Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Wednesday, January 11th, 2022. Today I'm going to recap the college basketball, NBA, and NHL from yesterday, look ahead to today's games in each sport. We'll do the soccer roundup from yesterday, look ahead to today's important games. NFL Hot Seat Watch. We're going to go around team by team and discuss who's safe, and then we'll get into coordinators too for certain teams, news and notes, and best bet. We'll start with college basketball. We'll recap the games from yesterday and look ahead to tonight's games. St. John's over Butler, 77-61. Kansas State, number 11, over Oklahoma State, 65-57. Michigan State upsets number 18, Wisconsin, 69-65. St. Fran Brooklyn beats Hartford, 78-73. Belmont beats Valpo, 74-59. Notre Dame beats Georgia Tech 73-72 in overtime. South Carolina upsets Kentucky 71-68. Whoo, baby. We need to talk a lot about college basketball soon. Florida beats LSU 67-56. VCU beats Loyola Chicago 78-64. Dayton beats Fordham 82-58. Kent State beats Toledo 75-63. Akron beats Bowling Green 74-70. Miami of Ohio beats Buffalo 91-80. Western Michigan beats Eastern Michigan 85-79. Ohio beats Ball State 76-71. Number 14 Iowa State beats Texas Tech 84-50. Temple beats Tulsa 76-72. Drake beats UIC 76-71 in overtime. Northern Iowa beats Murray State 75-67. Northern Illinois beats Central Michigan 73-54. Seton Hall beats Georgetown 66-51. Number 2 Kansas beats Oklahoma 79-75. Number 5 Tennessee beats Vandy 77-68. Number 13 Virginia beats North Carolina 65-58. Number 21 Auburn beats Ole Miss 82-73. DePaul beats Villanova 75-65. Illinois beats Nebraska 76-50. Air Force beats Colorado State 85-74 in overtime. San Jose State beats Fresno State 74-64. Utah State beats Wyoming 83-63. And number 23 San Diego State beats Nevada 74-65. The Mountain West is going to be like a 4-bid league this year. They're good. Okay, looking ahead to tonight's game, 6 o'clock, you have American and Army. My projection here is American by a half total, 138 3/5. And it is 1.5 and 137.5 and 1.5 in favor of Army. Give me American, but a slight lean to American plus the points. Vermont and UMass Lowell. My line's Lowell by 7 total 138 and 9/20, and it's 1.5 and 134.5. I love UMass Lowell laying the points. That is wild that's that low. SEC Network 6:30. Mississippi State at Georgia. My line is Georgia by 1 1/4 total 130 and 7/20, and it's Miss State by 2.5 total 128.5. Give me Georgia plus 2.5 and plus 116. Number 4, Alabama, and number 15, Arkansas, 7 o'clock, ESPN2. My line is Alabama by 1/4 total, 145 and 17/20, and it is Arkansas by 1.5 total, 154.5 under. Number 6, UConn at number 25, Marquette on CBS Sports Network. My line is UConn by 1 3/4 total, 147 and 17/20. Maybe Marquette's favored. We'll see. And it is UConn 2.5 total, 146.5. Slight over. Creighton at number 12, Xavier, Fox Sports 1. My line is Xavier by 6.5 total, 151 and a 20th, and it is 2.5 and 151.5. I'm laying the points at Xavier. BC number 16, Miami on ESPNU. My line is Miami by 15 total, 138 and 4/5, and it's 10.5 and 140.5. Laying the points at Miami. Number 22, Charleston at UNC Wilmington. My line is Charleston by 1/4 total, 141 and 13/20. This might be a game where they're a dog. Let's see. It is 3.5 and 145.5. I have a larger edge on the under than I do on Wilmington. But Wilmington and the under is a fun same-game parlay. Pitt at number 24, Duke on the ACC Network. My line is Duke by 14 3/4, total 139 and 3/20, and it is 8.5 and 141.5. I'm laying it with Duke. Maybe a loser leaves town match in the Big 12 between Baylor and West Virginia. My line is Baylor by 2.25, total 148.5, and it is West Virginia by 1, total 147.5. This is definitely a Vegas nose line. I know there's someone on West Virginia that might not play due to a concussion. I hate the pick, but I'm taking Baylor plus the points and plus 1 weight. I hate it. Hate it. Because I know that's a Vegas nose line. Memphis UCF. My line is Memphis by 2.25, total 139.25, and it is UCF by 1.5, total 137.5. Same situation here, except I feel better about Memphis' chances than UCF's. Give me Memphis plus 1.5 and minus 102 outright, and I say that because I just think West Virginia is more capable of winning than UCF as a slight favorite at home. BU Colgate, my line is Colgate 7.5, total 144.4, and it is 10.5 and 144.5. I'm taking BU plus the points. That's a lot. Holy Cross Lehigh, my line is Lehigh by 9.75, total 139 and a 20th, and it is 4.5 and 137.5. I'm going to lay it with Lehigh. Loyola Maryland and Bucknell, my line is Bucknell by 3, total 134 and 13/20, and it is 7.5 and 132.5. I'm taking Loyola in the points. Southern Illinois and Indiana State, my line's Indiana State by 2, total 137 and 9/20, and it is 4.5 and 134.5. I'm going to take the over. Virginia Tech Syracuse, my line is a pick'em and 141.5. And Syracuse's favorite is Vegas knows. Nope. Virginia Tech 3.5, total 139.5. Can't believe I'm doing this. I'm taking Syracuse plus the 3.5. And they're plus 132 to win outright. New Hampshire, Maine. My line is New Hampshire by 2.25, total 133 and 7/10, and it is Maine 3.5, total 103.5. I'm taking New Hampshire plus the 3.5 and plus 134. Binghamton and NJIT. My line is Binghamton by 1, total 139 and a 10th, and it is let me pull it up real quick. NJIT by 1.5, total 136.5. So over. Albany Bryant. My line's Bryant by 13, total 150 and 13/20, and we got 11.5 and 152.5. Slight under. Lafayette Navy. My line is Navy 14.5, total 137 and 7/20, and we got 5.5 and 129.5. I'm going to lay the points with Navy. Big Ten Network, Indiana, Penn State. My line is Indiana by 3.5, total 145 and 7/10. And we got Penn State 2.5, total 141.5. So add another one to the Vegas nose list. Give me Indiana getting the points and plus 115. So remember, Penn State, West Virginia, UCF. And there is, Maine's another one, too, in the America East. St. Bonaventure and Rhode Island. Projection, St. Bonaventure by 1/4, total 135 and 9/10. And it's Rhode Island 1.5, total 132.5. So over is the pick. Richmond Davidson. My line is Davidson 1.5 total 138 and 9/20. And it's 2.5 and 133.5. Over. LaSalle UMass. My line is UMass 10.5 total 141. And let's see here. 8.5 and 145.5 under. Duquesne St. Joe's. My line is Duquesne by 5.5 total 143 and 13/20. And it's 2.5 and 143.5. I'm going to lay it with Duquesne. Radford Winthrop. My line's Winthrop by 7 total 143 and 3/4. And it's 1.5 and 138.5. I'm going to lay the points with Winthrop. Gardner Webb and Presbyterian. My line is Gardner Webb by 6 3/4 total 132 and 3/20. And it is 7.5 and 125.5. Over. High Point Chasso. Mine's Chasso by 1 total 150 and 3/4. And it's High Point 1.5 total 154.5. Give me the under. Campbell and Upstate. My line is Upstate by 5 total 136 and 4/5. And it is 1.5 in favor of Upstate, total 131.5. Over. Greensboro VMI. My line is Greensboro by 10 3/4, total 139 and 2/5. And we got 9.5 and 138.5. Slight lean Greensboro. Furman Mercer. Mine's Furman by 11 3/4, total 143 and 3/5. And we got here 5.5 and 140.5. I am laying it with Furman. Western Carolina and Chattanooga. My line's Chattanooga by 6 3/4, total 143 and 3/4. And we got 9.5 and 141.5. I'm going to take Western plus the points. East Tennessee State and the Citadel. My line's East Tennessee State by 3/4, total 139 and 4/5. And it's 1.5 and 138.5. Slight lean to the over. NCAT Elon. My line is NCAT by 2.5, total 141 and 1/10, and it is 3.5 and 142.5. Slight under. Hampton, William and Mary. My line's William and Mary by 14 1/4, total 140 and 11/20, and we got 6.5 and 135.5. I'm going to lay the points at William and Mary. Towson, Delaware. My line is Towson by 3/4, total 138.5. And we got 2.5 and 131.5. Over. Monmouth, Hofstra. My line is Hofstra by 23.5, total 140 and 7/10. And it's 18.5 and 140.5. I'm going to lay it with Hofstra. 7:30, FAU, FIU. My projections. FAU by 10, total 144 and 3/4. And it's 10.5 and 146.5. Slight under. Abilene Christian and Texas Rio Grande. My line is Christian by 9, total 150 and 4/5. And it's 6.5 and 150.5. I'm going to lay the points with Abilene Christian. South Florida at number 1 Houston at 8. My line's Houston by 29.5, total 132 and 4 fifths. And we got 21.5 and 128.5. I'm laying the points at Houston. Chicago State and Tarleton. My line is Tarleton by 9, total 138 and 3/20ths. And it is 9.5 and 132.5 over. Tulane SMU. My line is Tulane by 11, total 147 and 3/20ths. And it is 4.5 and 150.5. I'm going to lay the 4.5 with Tulane. Louisiana Tech and North Texas. My line is North Texas by 10, total 130.5. And it's 8.5 and 121.5 over. Missouri State and Illinois State. My line is Missouri State by 5.5, total 131 and 11/20ths. And we got 3.5 and 128.5 over. Evansville and Bradley. My line is Bradley by 24, total 131 and 2 fifths. And we got 19.5 and 127.5. I'm going to lay the points with Bradley. Middle Tennessee Rice. My line is Rice by 4, total 147, 11/20ths, and it's 1.5 and 146.5 LA with Rice. George Mason, St. Louis. My line is St. Louis by 4.5, total 143 and 9/10ths. And it's 7.5 and 143.5. I'm going to take George Mason in the points. Wofford, Stanford. My line's Stanford by 8.5, total 142. And it is 3.5 and 139.5. I'm going to lay the points with Stanford. Number 20, Missouri at Texas A&M on the SEC Network at 8:30. My line's A&M by 4.5, total 152 and 1/10. And it's 4.5 and 150.5. So it agrees with me about Vegas, though. Slight over. Game of the night, 9 o'clock, ESPN2, number 17, TCU at number 10, Texas. My line's Texas by 3 3/4, total 144 and 9/20ths. And it's 6.5 and 143.5. I'm taking TCU in the points. East Carolina, Cincinnati on ESPNU. My line is Cincy by 17 1/4, total 142 and 7/20ths. And it's 10.5 and 140.5. I'm laying the points at Cincinnati. Louisville, Clemson. My line's Clemson 20.5, total 139 and 11/20ths. And it is 17.5 and 136.5. Over. Florida State, Wake on the ACC Network. My line's Wake by 3, total 145 and 7/20ths. And it's 7.5 and 149.5. Give me Florida State getting the 7.5. They're playing a little bit better. UTSA, UTEP. My line is UTEP by 6.5, total 140 and 3/20ths, and it's 10.5 and 132.5. Over. Western Kentucky and UAB on CBS Sports Network. My line's UAB by 8.5, total 148 and 4 fifths. And it's 10.5 and 151.5. Under. Big Ten Network, Rutgers, Northwestern. My projection is Northwestern by 2, total 127 and 7/10ths. And it is Rutgers 1.5, total 125.5. Oh my God, the wrong team is favored in this game. Give me Northwestern plus the points in the money line. They're going to, and minus 104 straight up. They're going to beat them outright. Utah Valley, Cal Baptist. At 10 o'clock, my line is Valley by 1.5, total 135 and 9/10ths, and it is 1.5 and 135.5. Probably my closest projections of the night, so slight over. UC Davis and Cal State Northridge. My line is Davis by 10, total 139 and 11/20ths, and it's 5.5 and 138.5. Laying the points with Davis. Florida and Irvine. My line's Irvine by 8 1/4, total 140 and 13/20ths, and it is 9.5 and 135.5. Over. Riverside and UC San Diego. My line is Riverside by 6.5, total 137.25, and it's 2.5 and 130.5 over. UC Santa Barbara and Bakersfield. My line is Santa Barbara by 7.75, total 127 and 7/10. And it is 8.5 and 122.5 over. 11 o'clock, ESPNU, Cal Wazoo. My line is Wazoo by 9.75, total 131 and 19/20, and it's 12.5 and 127.5. I'm going to take the over. And last but not least, on CBS Sports Network, Boise State, UNLV. Probably the sneaky great game of the night. My line is Boise by 2.5, total 135, and it's UNLV by 1.5, total 135.5. I'm taking Boise plus the 1.5 and minus 102 to win. So that was a long college. All right, now we'll move on to the NBA. We will recap the games from yesterday and look ahead to tonight's slate. Sixers over the Pistons, 147-116. Heat over the Thunder, 112-111. Raptors over the Hornets, 132-120. Jazz over the Cavs, 116-114. Suns over the Warriors, 125-113. Magic over the Blazers, 109-106. And the Clippers over the Mavs, 113-101. All right, tonight's slate, 7 o'clock. Timberwolves, Pistons. My line is Minnesota by 3.5, total 230 and 3/5. And it's 6.5 and 229.5. I'm taking Detroit getting the points at home. Bulls, Wizards. My line is the Bulls by a quarter, total 227 and 4/5, and it's 1 and 230. Give me the under. No Beal, and that's an under. 7:30 ESPN Bucks Hawks. My line is the Bucks by 2.25, total 227 and 3/5, and it's 2.5 and 236. I'm going to take the under. Pelicans, Celtics. My line is the Celtics by 14.25, total 230 and 3/4, and it's 9.5 and 231. I'm going to lay it with Boston. Pacers, Knicks. My line is the Knicks by 8.5, total 228.25, and it's 5 and 228.5. I'm going to lay the 5 at the Knicks. 8 o'clock, Spurs, Grizzlies. My line is the Grizzlies by 19.5, total 230 and 3/20, and it's 13.5 and 238. Under. ESPN 10 o'clock, Suns, Nuggets. So the Suns on national TV back-to-back nights. My line is the Nuggets by 19.5, total 227.25, and it is 13 and 226.5. I'm going to lay the 13 with Denver. And last but not least, Rockets, Kings. My line is the Kings by 13, total 230 and 9/20, and it's 9.5 and 237.5. I'm going to take the under in this one, too. All right, now I'll move on to the NHL. We'll look back on the games from yesterday and look ahead to the games being played tonight. Kraken over the Sabres, 4-3. Devils over the Canes, 5-3. Red Wings over the Jets, 7-5. That's wild. No pun intended on the next result. Rangers over the Wild, 4-3 in a shootout. Pens over the Canucks, 5-4. Lightning over the Blue Jackets, 6-3. Stars over the Isles, 2-1 in the shootout. Blues over the Flames, 4-3 in OT on a game winner by Robert Thomas. Sharks over the Coyotes, 4-2, and the Avs lose at home to the Panthers, 5-4. Wow. All right, 4 games tonight, 7 o'clock. You have the Capitals and the Flyers from Philly. On paper, before the year, you would have thought this game was on TNT, but it's obviously not. Caps minus 184, Flyers plus 150, over under 6. Overs minus 114, unders minus 106. Caps minus 1.5 is plus 138. Flyers plus 1.5 is minus 170. For this game, I'm going to go with the Capitals in regulation at minus 115. On TNT at 7:30, Preds, Leafs. Leafs minus 194, Preds plus 160, over under 6. Overs minus 115, unders minus 105. Preds plus 1.5 is minus 140. Leafs minus 1.5 is plus 114. I like the under. 10 o'clock, you have the Oilers and the Ducks. Oilers minus 255, Ducks plus 205, over under 6.5. Overs minus 130, unders plus 106. Oilers minus 1.5 is minus 108. Ducks plus 1.5 is minus 112. Oilers puck line minus 1.5 and minus 108. And on TNT, the nightcap, Sharks, Kings. Kings minus 210, Sharks plus 172, over under 6.5, minus 210 each way. Sharks plus 1.5 is minus 140, Kings minus 1.5 is plus 112. I'm going to go with the over in this game. All right, now move on to soccer. We will look back on yesterday's games of note, and today we have a lot to discuss. All right. The English Carabao Cup. Man United over Charlton 3-0, and Newcastle over Leicester 2-0. 2 games today, 2 o'clock or 2:45. You have Nottingham Forest and Wolves. I think this is the league isn't posting these games for some reason. Oh, here we go. So Nottingham Forest Wolves. Nottingham's plus 160, Wolves is plus 165. Draws 2-1. I'm going to go with the draw. And 3 o'clock, you have Southampton, Man City. Man City minus 550, Southampton 10-1, draw 5-1. For this one, we're going to go over 3.5 goals of plus 108. All right. Next up, Italian Coppa Italia, Inter Milan over Parma, 2-1 in extra time. 1 game today, 3 o'clock, you have Milan in Torino. So, Milan's minus 140, Torino is plus 360, draw plus 250. Over 2.5 goals, minus 106. All right, so also today we have the semifinals for the Spanish Supercopa. The first game, 2 o'clock on ESPN2, you have Real Madrid and Valencia. Madrid minus 220, Valencia 490, draw 330. We're going to go with under 2.5 goals at plus 110 for that game. All right, French League 1, a lot of games. 1 o'clock, you have AC Ajaccio and Reims. Reims plus 125. Ajaccio plus 240. Draw plus 210. We go with Reims plus 125. Auxerre and Toulouse. Toulouse plus 140. Auxerre plus 195. Draw plus 230. I'm going to go with Toulouse plus 140. Brest and Lille. Lille minus 125. Brest 330. Draw 250. We're going to go over 2.5 goals at minus 108. Clermont Foot and Rennes. Rennes minus 105. Clermont 290. Draw 230. I'm going to go with Rennes. Nantes and Lyon. Lyon minus 105. Nantes 270. Draw 240. And go with Lyon at minus 105. 3 o'clock. Lorient and Monaco. Monaco minus 120, Lorient 280, draw 280. We're going to go under 2.5 goals at plus 124. Nice and Montpellier. Nice minus 125, Montpellier. 340, draw 250. For this one, we're going to go with over 2.5 goals at minus 108. PSG and Angers. PSG minus 650. Angers 13-1 draw plus 650. We're going to go over 3.5 goals at plus 108. Strasbourg and Lens. Lens minus 110. Strasbourg 3-1 draw 230. Lens minus 110 is the pick. And then Troyes and Marseille. Marseille minus 160. Troyes 380. Draw 290. And we're going to go under 2.5 goals at plus 112. So, anything else in soccer we have to discuss? Just going through the leagues and see if there's any results we have to cover here. Doesn't look like it that we have to touch on anything else, so we're good with soccer. All right, NFL hot seat talk. We're going to separate this a little bit from news and notes because I just want to do a segment. We'll go around the league and discuss things I'm hearing and such. All right, we'll start with the AFC East. Buffalo, so their coordinators are being linked to open coordinator jobs, or head coaching jobs too, I should say. Ken Dorsey, that might be an opening in Buffalo as he may leave to get a head coaching job. So I guess this is more than hot seat, but I just call it hot seat watch because it's generally what it's called. Miami, I don't see them making any changes to their staff. I think it depends on how that playoff game goes and whether Tua's back or not. It's a big factor. But I think that the medical staff is going to be looked upon for sure. The Jets, I think, offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur is certainly going to be let go. The Jets didn't score an offensive touchdown the last 3 weeks of the season, so that's somebody that is probably out the door. And in New England, my goodness, I think Joe Judge and Matt Patricia were just bad to their staff. And Belichick really needs to hire from outside the organization. And I wonder if their OC position maybe former Texans coach Bill O'Brien's to lose. All right, the AFC North, I think Bengal coaches are going to be looked upon as guys that could land jobs. Brian Callahan, who's the offensive coordinator for the Bengals. So that's a name to look at for a head coaching job. The one that nobody's talking about, if the Ravens lose bad to Cincinnati, are we sure John Harbaugh's safe? Everyone's talking about his brother leaving Michigan potentially. But are we sure that John is safe in Baltimore? They haven't made the AFC Championship game in years under him. Like Pittsburgh was there more recently with Tomlin than Baltimore has been with Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh and Lamar's never made it past round 2. So that's one to watch. I think the Pittsburgh staff's okay. But the one thing that I keep an eye on is Brian Flores. I think that he could bolt for a coordinator position, if not a head coaching position. And then Browns, Kevin Stefanski. Looks like they're just shaking up their staff, and Stefanski's safe, it looks like. I'm surprised he hasn't been fired. He probably should have been fired 2 years ago. Or last year. The AFC South, we know Lovie Smith's out in Houston. Whoever gets that job should get leeway and try to help build it from the ground up. That whoever lands that job isn't going to be in a worse situation than Brian Daboll came into with the Giants. And Daboll, to his credit, turned it right around in year one and into the postseason. And they're actually talking to Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka, which is something to watch. The Colts, it's going to be interesting to see who they hire. You're going to hear Jim Harbaugh linked to them. Jeff Saturday does not deserve to come back. He was so bad for them. He probably is one of the more laughable coaches I've seen in sports over the last 5 years. Can't believe how bad he was. And I thought it was going to be bad, but it was even worse than I thought it would be. The Titans fired their offensive coordinator. I don't think the Jaguars will make any changes to their staff. AFC West, is this finally the year Eric Bieniemy gets a job? Will he end up in Houston or Indy? That would be interesting. I think if the Chargers lose to Jacksonville, I think Brandon Staley could get fired. That's something to keep an eye out. But if not that, then offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi might get the axe, potentially. And I thought he was going to be a good offensive coordinator, but he really hasn't lived up to the hype. Denver's going for the moons and the stars for their next coach, new owners. They just want the big name to win the press, whether it's Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh. It'd be a massive failure if a big star name isn't the head coach of the Denver Broncos. In Vegas, I think that Josh McDaniels is going to get another year. All right, to the NFC, we'll start in the East. I think in terms of the Eagles and how they finished the year, maybe like somebody on their coaching staff could get the axe. But the question is, who can that be? And I'm saying, like, in case they could potentially lose in the second round to the Giants or Dallas or somebody like that, Tampa. Shane Steichen is the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. He is somebody that's going to be a name to look out for to land a job. Or even their defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. Cowboys, if they lose to the Bucs, Mike McCarthy could be out. I really think that he's going to get fired if they lose to the Bucs. And then they're going to go out and get Sean Payton. The Giants, the only changes I see potentially that there is if some of their coordinators get head coaching jobs, Mike Kafka, or even Wink Martindale, their DC. I'm surprised Kafka's getting interviews. Like, that's insane. Maybe they see what he and Daboll have gotten out of Daniel Jones this year, and that's why Kafka is being looked at. And then Washington fired their offensive coordinator. That's not surprising. You knew they were going to make a change on that staff. Scott Turner's out. Now the question is who fills that vacancy. The NFC North, all eyes are on Green Bay. This wait a minute. I think I said Matt LaFleur before. That's actually the Packer coach. Mike LaFleur is the Jet offensive coordinator. So Matt LaFleur, I think, is in trouble. Joe Barry and Adam Stenovic are their coordinators. I could see maybe Joe Barry potentially getting the axe, maybe just so they could save face a little bit. But I don't think they'd be one and done with their offensive coordinator. But if anything, I could see LaFleur out. So the Vikings, I think their coaching staff has done a great job. Wes Phillips, I think, could be looked upon as a head coaching candidate. The Detroit Lions, the one to look out for is Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator. Got a lot out of Jared Goff this year. A lot of teams like him. Now, obviously, the Bears, they literally just remade their whole coaching staff last year. So I don't think they're going to make any coaching changes even on their staff. All right, the NFC South, could Todd Bowles go if the Bucs lose to the Cowboys? So that might be a loser leaves town match for the coaches. If the Bucs lose to Dallas, could Bowles be out? But I really think Byron Leftwich is going to be out for sure. I think he did not do a good job this year with the Bucs. The Saints, Dennis Allen could be out if Sean Payton wants to go back to the Saints. I think that Dennis Allen is certainly in trouble for that reason alone. Somebody mentioned to me yesterday Atlanta's Arthur Smith. They really just haven't produced results under Arthur Smith. So it looks like he's going to be back this season. So that's interesting. And then Carolina is looking for big names to fill its head coaching vacancy. Their intern Steve Wilkes didn't do the worst job in the world. But I think that they should go in a different direction than Steve Wilkes, because he was bad in Arizona. And we'll start with Arizona, speaking of Steve Wilkes, in the NFC West. They fired Cliff Kingsbury. And there's talks about their defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, taking over. That would be an epic disaster. Vance Joseph was awful as the Bronco coach. Truly awful. And they could look out for Sean Payton and Harbaugh and stuff like that too. They could go in that direction if they want. Sean McVay is a big story. He told his coaches to go look for other jobs because he doesn't know his own future. If you ask me right now whether Sean McVay comes back or not, I think that he might take a year off and then come back. Maybe Raheem Morris is the intern coach for the Rams next year, and then McVay comes back. And Raheem Morris is another one that's looking at head coaching jobs. And a change I could see on the Rams staff is Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator, who actually went back to Kentucky. So that position on their staff is open. The Seahawks, if I had to guess, if they make a change on their staff, Clint Hurt, the defensive coordinator, I think could be in trouble. Because that defense was really bad in the second half of the season. And then, meanwhile, their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, I think did an okay job this year getting some ability out of Geno Smith. And then, obviously, the 49ers, I think that D'Amico Ryans is going to be a head coaching candidate. So that's the only one for them that I would look out for. D'Amico Ryans getting a head coaching job would be the one that I would look out for. All right, news and notes time. So we just did some hot seat stuff. So, Roquan Smith got paid by the Ravens 5 years, $100 million, $60 million in guaranteed money. That's good that the Ravens lock up somebody that they gave up some assets for. Lamar Jackson uncertain for Sunday as he hasn't felt right after testing knee ahead of the wild card game. The Texans are also talking to Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka. NFL World salutes J.J. Watt as players around the league and Watt's family play tribute to his historic career in a heartfelt video that was posted yesterday. Breaking news out of Major League Baseball this is really yesterday's news, but it must be discussed. Carlos Correa has signed with the Minnesota Twins. 6 years, $200 million after the Mets deal falls through. It's official. It's happening. The big gun reporters have reported that he passed his physical. And he will be back in Minnesota with the Twins. So December 13th, he had the $350 million deal with the Giants. And the 21st, he had the $315 million deal with the Mets. And then yesterday, he agrees to $200 million. So he lost $150 million because of failed physicals. And the Mets offer conditionally guaranteed the final 6 years of Correa's deal. But he will make $42.5 million more with the Twins. But I said he lost $150 million in terms of contract. The San Francisco Giants are showing interest in former Yankees and Twins catcher Gary Sanchez. I guess that would just be for DH. Trevor Story had surgery on his UCL and is expected to miss time. So that's not great for Boston. College football. So talk about something full circle. Dinuris Colin, who went viral in a 2013 meme known as the Popeyes kid, has a deal with Popeyes as a freshman offensive lineman. So talk about something that coming in full circle. Spencer Rattler announces that he will come back to South Carolina this season, so that is wonderful news for them. The The college football playoff natty title game had a record low in terms of viewers. The lowest viewed college championship game in the BCS or college football playoff era. That doesn't surprise me. TCU's not a ratings getter. I know it was a big deal that it was a blowout, and that certainly didn't help the cause. But I've seen other college football playoff natty title games or BCS natty title games that had a good rating number because of Alabama and Notre Dame and Clemson and teams like that being in those games in the past. LSU was another one. Stephanie McMahon announces her resignation from her position as the co-CEO from WWE. That doesn't stun me at all. It's going to be interesting to see who they find to replace her. Something funny happened last night in the Rangers-Wild game. Actor Ryan Reynolds kisses former Rangers goaltender Henrik Lundqvist on the cheek. The video went pretty viral. It was so funny, and it was all over social media. So that was a fun moment to watch. Otto Porter out for the season after having surgery on his left foot. Only played 8 games for the Raptors this season. So not a gigantic loss for the Raptors, but hopefully Otto Porter gets well soon. The Jazz obviously did a tribute video for Donovan Mitchell, and his fans gave him a standing ovation. And the Miami Heat set the record for most free throws made without a miss, but they only won by 1, which is insane to me, and only that would happen when yours truly has Miami minus 4.5 for best bet and loses her first best bet of the year. So, best bet today brought to you by FanDuel. There was a couple that jumped out to me today, so now I am 6-1 in 2023 for best bet. So I'm going to lay a unit. Oh, the Nick number went down to 4.5 against Indiana. I want to go back to hockey and go with the over of a team I took the other day. The Kings. They're playing the Sharks, who are awful. Over 6.5, minus 110, laying a whole unit on it. I love it. So best bet of the day, Sharks, Kings, over 6.5, minus 110. Okay, so that's it for the show. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything from today. Looking at everything tomorrow. We have the Sony Open to do as well. News and notes, best bet, and maybe one more activity. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.